Another experiment which is very commonly carried out and asked to students is the experiment of osmosis, that's water relations. And now we are going to carry out a very simple experiment using the Cocoyam Stalks, which is on water relations. So what we'll do is I'll be giving the instructions and all of us will do it at once. So, but before we cut the stalks, we are going to prepare the solutions. We are going to prepare three solutions, solution A, solution B, and solution C. So I have before me the three solutions that we'll make. I'll make solution A, is going to be hydrochloric acid. So you put hydrochloric acid here, put acid there. And then solution B here is going to be pure water. I'll put water here. And then solution C is going to be sucrose solution. Put much water. It's going to be sucrose solution. So we prepare the solutions together. So the candidates should see that examiners do not take the solutions from space. They themselves can prepare it and carry out the experiments to prepare themselves for the exams. So usually we are asked to cut strips for about 5 centimeters. So we'll cut strips for about 5 centimeters, of 5 centimeters. We'll cut 5 centimeters. I measure it with a ruler. This is my graduated ruler. I make sure that it is 5 centimeters. So I cut. So you measure your own and cut. Cut strips 5 centimeters. Yes. First. Yes. And when the strips are cut, we open up the strip. I think we are following up the procedure. When the strips are cut 5 centimeters long, we open them up into 4 using the knife that we have. So we open them up into 4 using the knife. As we are opening, we observe. Because we are going to note what we have observed. So open it up into 4 using a knife. So when I open it now, these are the strips that I have. So you hold your own strips up. Hold your own strips up. Yes. These are the 4 that I've had now. What have you noticed?
Thanks for watching.
Okay, if you look at them, just by looking at them, you notice that there is some curving. They are curved, and they are curved towards the outside. But the curving is not all that too distinct. Okay? So the curving can be explained on the sense that here, the inner cells, the parenchymal cells inside are softer. They have very soft walls, and the epidermal cells outside are harder. They have the harder cellular cell walls. So these ones cannot expand as much as the ones. So the ones inside expand more than the ones outside, and then they curve outside. So I also touch it to feel the texture. So I feel that this one that I'm touching is hard, but it is not all that very hard. It's hard. Then what I've observed, what I have done so far up to now is that I've cut strips 5 centimeters long. I've divided it into 4 to have 4 strips, and I've observed that there is some curving towards the epidermal side. And I've also touched it and feel that they are hard. The inner parts are hard, but not very hard. So what I do now is I put it in my solution B here, and then I will look at my watch, because they will be there for 30 minutes. The question always specifies the time. So I put it, if I had my clock, I will set my clock, I'll put it and set it such a way that after the 30 minutes, it is going to ring. And when it rings, I will come to observe to see what has happened. But after I put, and then I set my clock to keep the time, then I don't fold my arms and sit and begin to wait for 30 minutes. So this is to tell candidates that when you take your question paper, you read through all the questions. Because there are some questions that will require that you do it continuously, and there are some questions that will require intervals of time. So when you read the whole of your of the question paper and you see such questions that take a long time, then when you carry out the experiment, you will be able to wait and then come and observe it at intervals. And while you are coming to observe, you are doing another thing that does not need intervals of time. So that when you are doing one thing or the other, you are dissecting or you are observing and writing the report or whatever, then after 30 minutes, you come and take out your preparation and then you write down what is there. Okay, the aim of my experiment was to observe what happens to strips of Cocoyam stalks when immersed in the three solutions A and B. So, what was the procedure and what were my observations? So, I write down the aim. The aim of the experiment is to observe what happens to the strips of Cocoyam stems when immersed in solutions A, B, and C. So, I'll write it up there. Then, on my report, I will draw a table and I will make columns. I'll draw a table and make rows and columns. On this first one, I will write here the procedure. And then on the second column, I will write observation. And then on the third, I will write inference. Write inference or conclusion, or what I have inferred from what I have seen. So, the first thing candidates should note here is the language of reporting the experiment. You don't report the experiment by giving commands. You don't report the experiment by asking the examiner to do something. You report in simple present tense. Like what we have had, I will come and write here the procedure, strips of Cocoyam stalks. Cocoyam stalks are cut 5 centimeters, opened with a knife into four and immersed into solutions A, B, and C. This is what we have done. They were cut with a knife, opened, and then they were put into solution. What did I observe after cutting them? Observe that on cutting and opening the strips. So you write, I will be giving you, as you are observing, you write it. Right, on cutting and opening the strips, a curvature was observed. The strips curved towards the outside, and on the texture, they were hard, but normal, not very hard. They were then immersed in the solutions A, B, and C, and observed after 30 minutes. This is what we have observed. Then I'll now go now to the inference. Inference, I'll write the inner parenchymal cells. The inner parenchymal cells are softer because they have soft cell walls than the outer epidermal cells of the Cocoyam stalk. This softness of the inner parenchymal cells, this softness of the inner parenchymal cells make these cells to expand more than the epidermal cells, and as such cause the curvature. Full stop. That's what we have observed. That is all. Then we'll come now and observe our results after 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, we are now to remove the strips from our solutions and to observe to see the changes that have occurred. So we'll remind ourselves that solution A here was hydrochloric acid, solution B was pure water, and solution C was sucrose solution. So we're going to remove the strips. I will start from where you have the sucrose. Remove it. When you remove it, you blot it with tissue paper. You don't touch the solution with your hands. You blot it first to take the solution, hold it. Take the solution off before you touch it with your hand. So when you remove it, you look at it. The first thing is that you observe that it has straightened. It is straight. It has straightened up. Meaning that the parenchymal cells inside that at first were pushing outward has lost water to the solution, and their vacuoles have contracted, and the cytoplasm have shrinked. That's why they are pulled together, and as such, they are pulling on the back, the epidermal wall, and as such, it brings it to be straightened like that. And if you touch it now, you realize that it is not still as hard as it was at the beginning. So it is softer. It is softer. And if you measure the length, at the edges, which was 5 centimeters. Measure it. So you see that the length has not increased. The length has remained the same, but it is softer. So what we are observing after 30 minutes is that it is softer and it has straightened up. And then what do we then write? What we are writing is simply we write on the column of observation that after 30 minutes, the strip from solution C becomes straightened up, and when touched with the hand, it is felt to be softer than it was at the beginning. Then on the column of the inference, what do we write? We write this, the straightening of the strip implies that the parenchymal cells, which at first were turgid, have lost water to the solution, and as such have contracted. The cytoplasm have shrinked, and then they are pulling against the epidermal walls, and it is straightened. So this implies that solution C is hypertonic. So exosmosis was taking place, meaning that osmosis was taking place, and water was moving from the strips into the solution. Then in solution B, which was pure water, we realized that the curving has increased. It is very, very curved. It is very, very obvious. See how curved it is. The curving has increased, and you also see that the inner parenchymal cells have bulged out, and if you touch them, they are very, very firm. They are very, very firm. So this implies that these cells had taken up water, they have become fully turgid, and they are pulling against the epidermal walls, and that is why there is the curvature. So solution B is certainly hypotonic. So endosmosis was taking place. That is, water was moving from the solution into the cells. That is what is called endosmosis. That's the inference. Then on solution A, here, when we remove from solution A, the first thing you notice is that you notice a color change. The strips at first were brown, but now they were green, but now they are yellowish. So it has lost the greenish color, meaning that it has lost the chlorophyll. That's why it is not green. So we wipe it off with our tissue paper, and then we now touch it with our hand. So when we touch it, the hand, we see that it is soft, very, very pliable, as if it has been cooked. So this solution is certainly an acid, because this certainly is what we call acid burns. So the acid has destroyed the cells, all the cells have been destroyed, and that's why it is pliable, as if it has been cooked. So this solution is certainly an acid. You can even see how it's bending. Then you compare with this one, you see it. So candidates are advised to always carry out the experiment. If you do not carry out this experiment, you don't know the difference between solution A, solution B, and solution C. And it is clear now. And candidates should never test the solution with their mouths, because some candidates think that it is sugar, it is salt, and it is pure water. If you are testing, even thinking that it is different concentrations of sugar, if it was an acid like this and you go and put in your tongue, what happens? The acid will burn your tongue, and before you realize, damage would have been done. So it is advisable that candidates should never make an error of testing the solutions with their mouth so as to preempt the results. They should always take their time to carry out the experiment. The results will always come, and they will always write. So we have started our table. So at the end of the experiment, you then go to just write down what I have given, and you still write following the tabular form and your inferences. You will realize that you have all your marks and nothing will happen. You can even have more than the allocated marks, but you have maximum marks that the question has awarded. So you see that it is quite easy. You don't have to strain, but you must program yourself in the way that after an interval, you are doing another thing before you come back to that question. Thank you.